friend.
Welcome to heavy metal.
History.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to this week's episode of the podcast. Before we get to the new episode, I have a couple things I want to kind of get to and explain to you guys because we have a couple cool things going on. The first is we're going to be doing a contest or a giveaway, and it's super simple. It's pretty straightforward. Basically, I found a bunch of autograph posters from when I was touring. They're cool and all, and I would love to keep them, but honestly, I have no need for them. They've been sitting in my dad's house for the past 7 years. I haven't missed them. So what I want to do is I want to pay it forward to all of our listeners, because without you guys, this podcast wouldn't be where it's at right now. I never dreamed when we started it a year ago it'd be where it's at, and it's cool to see how the thing is like taking life. Whether you've found us through a interview episode I did, or you were there from the beginning, or you saw a flyer, or you took a flyer, or you met us in New York, or however you found out about us, we appreciate the fuck out of you guys. It's awesome that, a lot of you listen, and I want to pay it forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give away one of these posters. I think there's about 4 or 5. We will let the winner choose the poster of their choosing, along with another secret gift, because I have a bunch of music memorabilia and band stuff from touring days. And, as cool as it is to have some of that stuff, I don't necessarily need it. It's just been sitting around. So here's how it's going to work. All you have to do, share if you're on Facebook or Twitter, or even on Instagram. Share an episode that you like, one of your favorite episodes. Tag us in the post, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter or Instagram. Just make sure you tag us. That's all you have to do. And whoever shares it or likes it, that will count towards your overall score. So whoever posts and has the most likes and shares, that's how we're going to choose our winner. You can do this within the next 2 weeks. So you got 2 weeks to do this. You can share multiple episodes if you want. I don't care. Maybe that's how we'll choose the winner, whoever shares the most episodes. But so basically, if you're on Facebook, you share an episode, you tag us in the Facebook, and then 5, 6, 7 people like it, and then you get 2 shares. That's 10 entries. If you post it on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, that's 3 automatically. And then whoever likes that picture on Instagram, if it's 23 people, boom, that's 23 entries. So we will take note of all those things. We will add them up. And whoever has the most will be the winner. And we will contact you through one of those social media things. And you will get the poster of your choosing. I believe right now I have a Despised Icon poster, a Beneath the Massacre poster, an Unleashed poster. I think I have a Converge poster that is autographed, and I think I have a Carnifex poster that is autographed. It will be the winner's choosing, and second and third place will also get something of their choosing. Not a poster, not something autographed, I think, but I have a bunch of cool band and show flyers from touring. It will definitely be something fucking cool. So that's it. That's how it works. It's super fucking simple. As soon as you hear this episode, that's when it starts. So start sharing those episodes, start tagging us and everything, get your friends to like it. We're also going to be posting this on our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter about the contest. So if you see it there, boom, you know what to do. And speaking of cool things like that, we're going to move on to something else that's cool. We've been talking about this for a couple episodes now, but my buddy Scott in Carnifex is releasing a graphic novel called Death Dreamer. What is Death Dreamer? Well, it's a graphic novel. It's probably part horror. I've only seen a little bit of it myself, but it's probably a little bit of horror. It's written by a metal dude, so it's got some brutal stuff in it. All you have to do is go to www.deathdreamer.net, sign up for the mailing list, and you'll know when it comes out. Scott is also going to be coming on the podcast sometime, probably in July, most likely before they go on their Euro tour, to talk about Death Dreamer and whatever else we decide to talk about. I think it's a cool thing that Scott's doing, man. I love comic books. Matt loves comic books where, it's intrinsic to metal. I think comic books and horror movies, I know we've said this ad nauseum, but you know how we feel about it. And I want to support my friends, so I think it's a cool thing, and you guys should definitely please check it out. deathdreamer.net. Sign up for the mailing list. That is it. My guest for today, Conan from ExMortus. Fucking awesome dude to talk to. I was kind of surprised with the record, and I don't mean that in like an insulting way. I've always passively listened to the band. They're fucking cool. They're shreddy. They're thrashy. Like, the dude's a hell of a guitar player. So when the new record hit my inbox, I was kind of like, I'll get to it when I get to it. But instead, I had a lot of free time, and I decided to listen to the new record, and it fucking blew me away. It's probably the best record he's ever done. He has a whole new lineup on this record, I believe we talk about. Pretty much the last remaining member is him. And we get into it, man. We get about his roots of metal and his music theory, and just how far he's come as a musician. And he's had really supportive parents all of his life, and I think that's kind of pushed him into keeping ExMortus alive. And it's a hell of a record. It comes out on Prosthetic June the 8th. Definitely fucking check it out. Definitely support the fuck out of him. It's a great episode. He was so fun to talk to, and I hope you guys will enjoy it. So here's episode 59 with Conan of ExMortus. Thank you for listening, guys, and we'll see you next week. Cheers, cunts.
With greatest skill, decipher, say your blood I spell. My hunger calls, your spirit's false. Now I'm going for the kill. Now see the soil soaked in red, the broken bodies lying dead. So crease my ire, smack not the fire, rather eat it raw instead. But to me, engagement primal lust, savagery.
Alright, listeners, welcome to this week's episode of Heavy Metal History. I'm your host, Dustin. My guest with me today is Conan, the guitar player for ExMortus. Conan, thank you for joining me, man.
Hey, thank you for having me. How's it going?
Pretty good, man. So the question we kind of like to get started with to get things rolling is, what were your heavy metal influences? What were the first couple bands you remember hearing or finding out about that kind of started your love for the genre?
Well, pretty much anything and everything my dad had on CDs. It's his collection from the 80s and even 90s. So he had a lot of Maiden, Sabbath, Ozzy, and like everything. Honestly, he had a bunch of Scorpion stuff too, and you name it. He had like a lot of CDs from all the bands I continue listening to. So yeah, that left quite an impression on me at a very young age, because I saw how diverse heavy metal was.
Yes.
Like one moment I was listening to like groovy Sabbath, right? Like I think the album I had was Paranoid. Yeah, that was my dad's CD, and I loved the groove, and I loved just how dark some things sounded. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get any darker, my dad puts on a Slayer CD. And I'm like, what is this? This is so cool, and it's totally different. It's like very fast and in your face sounding, and still retains some sort of, dark aspect lyrically, I guess. And I guess musically too. But yeah, that was like my first impression on like heavy metal, was just like how diverse it is, and how many different things you could express. Because even Iron Maiden, like you have like Somewhere in Time and shit, like totally different aspect, opposite end of the metal spectrum maybe. And yeah, that just really amazed me, and I loved the whole world of metal since then. I was like about 8-9 years old when I first started getting into the heavier stuff. So yeah, that was probably some of the first records I listened to. as a kid.
It's pretty crazy, isn't it, how metal, like, when you kind of hear like those first few bands like Sabbath or Slayer, and then just how extreme things just kind of go from there to like just the most brutal of death metal and black metal, and it's like you think it can't get any more extreme, and then you hear something else and you're like, what the hell did I just listen to?
Oh, shit. Exactly, yeah. Even with like modern music too, like, fuck, there's a bunch of technical death metal bands that fucking blow my mind. It's fucking ridiculous how fast they can play, and all this intense fucking riffage and all this stuff. So yeah, it's crazy how much you can do and still, be considered metal, because everyone shares, I guess, a whole ideology of how metal should be, and it's pretty much it's for the most part, I guess, accepted.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, this is heavy metal, and everyone kind of agrees.
Yeah,
unless you're an elitist or so.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's still a weird contingency of like elitist people that just don't want to give stuff a chance, and it's like the weirdest thing to me, because like, if you love music, you should just want to listen to everything. Sure, something may not click with you personally, but it doesn't mean it necessarily sucks.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't mean you can't appreciate that kind of music for what it contributes to the scene, or what it does for other people. Like, it's still interesting regardless. Like, there's some music I'm not really fond of. I'm not really too fond of, like, of the whole death metal scene as a whole, or even the whole black metal scene. But I do appreciate elements of it, and I do utilize a lot of that in ExMortus. So, I can't just hate on everything. It doesn't make sense. I don't have enough energy to hate on music. I spend all that energy on creating music. So, I just don't get how people hate so much.
Yeah. No, that's how I feel too, man. It's like, there's so much stuff out there, and I just want to listen to everything. Sure, I may not like some stuff, but that's fine. I'll find something else that I like and just replace it with that.
Totally, yeah.
So having a parent that was like into heavy metal, man, that's kind of a cool thing, I gotta admit. How cool was that, like, growing up, like, knowing your dad had all these records and was into metal himself?
Well, at first it was kind of rough in a way, because now I'm very grateful for that. I'm very fortunate that my dad was into that, and of course he was the driving force for ExMortus. He managed us and took us to all the shows, in our first like 5 or 10 years maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I forget how long he was helping us out for. He still helps out every once in a while. But anyways, I guess I'm getting off subject. But at first it was kind of rough, because I was like the only metalhead at school.
Yeah.
I was like 4th, 5th grade, and then got into middle school. I'm like the only guy with long hair. Everyone called me a girl. Everyone would make fun of me for like the fucking Maiden shirt I had on, or the Slayer or Metallica shirt, and they're like, "What is that? Like, you're weird." And I didn't have many friends, and the only people that accepted me were like I guess they call them the smart kids or whatever, because I guess they were brought up to be more accepting and just overall chill. So I made friends with the nerds, No, in a way, a lot of metalheads are nerds. Now, I'm a fucking nerd, I've always been a nerd.
Yeah, I was gonna say that makes sense.
I just fit in with that crowd, with that outcast crowd. So at first it was kind of, it was a rocky start of, I guess, acceptance, but I didn't really care. I didn't really strive to like want to be accepted. I was kind of a loner anyway. Before getting into metal, the only real friend I had was my cousin Mario, who actually, me and him started the band. Back in 2002, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like we were just do what we wanted, just jam. Finally found some friends that liked some heavy metal. Like, so, of course, Metallica was the most popular metal band, easily accessible, and everyone loved Metallica. So,
yeah.
We would jam Metallica songs, and some got into more shit, like, Slayer, or even some more obscure shit eventually, like Death, one of our first guitarists was really into Death, and that, had an influence on our sound early on, too, I guess during our high school years. But, it was kind of an interesting beginning, but eventually heavy metal started becoming mainstream again, slowly. I guess where we lived in Whittier, it was mostly, I guess, hardcore, hardcore music.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The new hardcore stuff. So, I mean, there's some cool stuff about that, but, I mean, I never got too into it. But, you know, whatever. That was the scene, and we try to, you know, play in that scene, too. And it seemed to work. So whatever.
Yeah, it's always interesting, too, especially with people who listen to heavy metal. When you first start listening to it, you don't realize it's not a socially, quote-unquote, acceptable
kind of thing.
Yeah, and then one day you're talking to somebody being like, yo, do you know about this band Mortician? And they're like, who? I'm listening to Pink Floyd. And it's like, Pink Floyd? You know, then you get into Pink Floyd. You know, it's a slippery slope there.
You
but
just, you know.
Yeah,
you sort of share ideas and share bands and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's a good little melting pot. But, man, I remember when that hit me pretty hard in, like, junior high school when, you know, you kind of realize, like, wait, nobody else listens to this kind of music except for me and, like, this one other kid that kind of listens to it. It's really jarring, to say the least. But I think, yeah, over the past, you know, especially over the past decade, like, the acceptance of it has skyrocketed, it seems like, and there's a lot more open-minded people within the genre, and it's not as fringe as it used to be, which I think is a good thing. You know, some people want to keep it underground, but I don't know, man. I think
because I guess that's a certain aspect of the heavy metal scene too, where I guess some people grew up like that. They were the only person in their town that knew of this band because of whatever reason, and the moment more people start getting into it, they're like, oh, it's not special anymore. Maybe, you know, they want to hold on to it as a secret, esoteric kind of you know, discovery just for themselves, and maybe that's what it is. I never really understood that. I just like, you know, to share. It's just fucking better. It's just like language, you know. It's better to communicate with someone in, you know, a common language or something. You know, if you can't, you're not going to understand each other. Same thing with heavy metal.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same kind of thing. I would like to think. So why keep it such a secret? You know, fucking, that's the whole point of music, is to share the art, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So,
anytime I find out about a new band, or even if I'm coming late to a band, I'm like, everybody needs to go check this out right now. It's important to me.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So,
totally.
Kind of growing up, how did you end up getting involved with your local scene to start a band? And, you know, you said your cousin was a drummer, was that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, actually. Well, he started off playing guitar.
Oh, guitar. Okay.
But since he was like the only guy that played drums the best out of all of us, he was actually decent. Everyone was not very good. He was by default. He became the drummer, you know. But yeah, we just got together with friends, and we were like, hey, let's be a band, you know. Let's fucking write music, and you know, we have these songs already, and what do you know, we collaborated a lot, and we know, with our high school friends, and yeah, we tried to, you know, jump on as many shows as we could, you know, backyards even, because again, like, we didn't fit too much in the scene. They were playing a lot of hardcore shows,
Mm-hmm.
and we tried to be a part of that, but there was always like fights because, you know, the whole fucking hardcore and metal hatred and all this shit. And even then, we would play with a lot of play some punk shows, I guess, or, you know, mixture of metal and punk. And there's fights there. I guess there's just always fights. There's always some shit going down, you know. But
Totally.
always everyone has something to prove or some shit. But we didn't really get into fights or anything, so we were okay. We're rather peaceful, considering the lyric content we have, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you guys just want to play music.
Point. Exactly. So, yeah, we just would, you know, jump on as many shows as we could just to get our name out there. And yeah, a lot of times we would play like fucking 4 shows a weekend, like 2 shows Friday night and 2 shows Saturday night. Like, we would schedule that somehow. My dad would take us everywhere. He was our manager, our first manager, you know. He would book all that shit for us and just drive us back and forth because he had a great time doing it. I guess, you know, he never had that when he was young. You know, he played guitar when he was younger, and he's just more of a hobby. But I guess he wished his dad had done the same for him. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what drove him to, you know, really help us out with all that stuff. And I feel that to this day. Like, I can't stop. Like, my dad, you know, initiated that spark. You know, he gave us that push, and now he's backed off, and I just keep going, you know. I have the same drive.
I mean, that's got to be an excellent boost of, you know, not just confidence, but, you know, really trying to keep the band going when you have somebody championing you so hard, and especially when it's a parent, because that's really hard to get your parents' support with anything, it seems like.
Yeah,
so
totally. I mean, people struggle like with like support in general. You just need someone to, you know, at least be encouraging, even if they can't help you financially. I mean, it sucks that, you know, we've had some previous, like, early band members that, you know, during high school that the parents weren't very supportive of the whole idea because of the whole we were playing backyards a lot, and there's a lot of fucking, you know, underage drinking and, you know, drug use, and yeah, they were not very fond of that idea. So we had trouble at first with that, you know, so it was hard to actually, you know, have a band together because of that. So, I mean, it worked out, you know, eventually, you know, it somehow did. I don't even know how that worked out, but I guess we were pretty tight with the parents too, you know, with the previous members of the time.
Yeah.
So it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, when you guys are kids, you know, it's hard to like really, I guess, like make yourself be like an adult at that point in time when everybody still sees you as a kid. But you're still like working as hard as an adult would in a band. You know, you're playing all these shows. From what it sounded like, you guys are basically doing like what comedians do. You know, comedians play like 2-3 shows a night, like doing the same set over and over. So you guys were just as a band doing that. That's unheard of, you know, at this point. So that's dedication right there in my eyes. That's amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, we had that mindset early on, at least, you know. My dad really instilled that in us. Like, if this is what you want to do, you better, you know, do it right. Like, you know, you better be passionate about it. Just don't do it just to like, oh, I'm going to get fucked up every weekend and, you know, just for party, you know. So I in the beginning, for me, I never wanted to be a musician for partying or for the whole rock and roll lifestyle. I mean, I just do it because I love to perform in general. I love to share my music. So I've always had that mindset since the beginning.
That's a good way to do it, man. I mean, I realize, you know, with how many bands there are, everybody's in it for a different reason. So, you know, some people want to do it for the music, some people want it for the notoriety and just to party, and that's fine. That's all fine. You know, that happens.
Cool. Yeah, the people that do that, they rock it, they own it, and it's cool. And I admire that too because it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah. So, no, absolutely. So, with your dad being so supportive, I assume it was him that kind of led you into playing guitar as well. Like, how did that start as well?
Interestingly enough, I mean, I was always into music, of course, but I never actually strove to play guitar. What got me going was Mario. Mario was asking my dad, "Oh, can you teach me how to play some songs? I want to like jam with friends." And yeah, I think he was like 10 or something. I think it was 11 or some shit. And my dad's like, "Oh yeah, sure, cool." And he started showing him how to play, and I'm like, "Fuck, dude, I want some attention too." You know, like I kind of felt left out because there goes my you know, my best friend, and like, you know, I was a loner to begin with, like I was saying, so I didn't really have much else to do. So I was like, "Fuck it, I'll learn too." And not that it was like a chore or anything. Like I didn't mind that, but that actually got me more motivated to play guitar. I would just mess around, you know, with, you know, fake guitars, because Mario and I used to go dressed as Gene Simmons and Ace Frehley for Halloween competitions, and we did pretty good. We won some, so, you know, we liked the whole rock and roll kind of thing since then. I think we're like 8 years old, and but yeah, Mario started playing, you know, because he wanted to start jamming with friends, and I'm like, oh, that's fucking cool. I want to do the same. So that got me into playing guitar, and then I guess the rest is history. You know, I got really into it. I love the whole expression. I realized that, oh shit, I could actually play these songs. I couldn't, you know what I mean? It's not impossible. It's totally accessible, and especially at a time when, you know, we're in where the internet was, you know, people started hosting a lot of tabs online, and it was easy to just look up tabs, and I could learn easily. I learned how to read tabs, and yeah, it was so empowering. So yeah. That's what really motivated me to play guitar. It's, I guess, jealousy in a way.
Yeah, that's, you know, you were right at that perfect era where like the internet was just starting to become a little bit more prevalent. So you had, like you were saying, tab websites and probably YouTube just a little bit.
Right.
I remember too. That's kind of like how I started playing guitar as well. It was like I didn't really have anybody to teach me, but I learned how to read guitar tabs, and like, I still never got any good at it, but I got good enough to where I could like kind of play some songs, you know? And it was nice to be able to like hear a song, look at how it's broken down into like these notes and melodies and how it's played and how fast it's played, and really kind of deconstruct each part of it and then learn it from there, and then like make your own style based off that.
Oh yeah, totally. And that's funny you say that, because I would do that a lot of the time too. Like I couldn't get the songs down exactly. Like the solos I would try to learn, I couldn't get them down. So what I would do, I would just kind of like make it up. You know, fuck it, I can't figure this part out. So this sounds cool, I guess. You know, it's not exactly what I wanted to learn, but I make it up. And that kind of encouraged me to be a little more creative in general. Like since I couldn't play it exactly, I just used my ear and I guess my judgment to what I thought it was good, and I started being a little more, I started going off the rails in a way. So I started making up my own songs, my own solos, and yeah, it just kind of, it was interesting because that fueled my creativity somehow.
Yeah, because I mean, you have like a base point to start, and then like you kind of go off on your own little tangent there, and you realize like, oh, this is a way to like kind of write a song a little bit, like not with ripping things off, but you know what I mean. Exactly.
Totally on point. That's what I used to. That's how I used to write songs too. I was like, oh, just go off a little bit. It sounds a little more like me now,
Yeah.
But it's a good template to base your own ideas on. So yeah, totally right.
So did you ever get into like music theory or anything advanced like that, like with your guitar playing? Because I feel like where you're at right now, especially with like how the current album sounds, like some of those melodies and harmonies and like riffs that you come up with, man, are just like, man, I don't even know the word. They're just beyond solid. I was blown away. I only got the album yesterday, so I've only got to listen to it once, but I was just like, what the fuck? Like, I was not expecting this,
Awesome. Good. and yes, to answer your question, absolutely. I got into music theory a little later. I mean, I always liked to learn, and at first I would just play, I would learn to play my favorite songs, my favorite anything, rock, metal, even pop, just some shit, just to practice. Because I knew if I tried playing different kinds of styles, I would just, better my playing overall. Mm-hmm. So I did that at first, and then I started getting a little better just at, how to play stuff, different styles and whatnot. But I wanted to understand why everything made sense. So I think my first attempt at reading about music theory was in high school, I think. I went to the library and I checked out this book. And I was just like, what the fuck is this? It was interesting, but it was just so hard to understand because it was an old book and I didn't have an actual teacher, for that. And the classes that were available during high school were not that great. They just didn't really get into it. You know? And I guess it's more advanced topics that I was interested in, but I kept trying, trying to understand, looked up websites, and a lot of them helped out. I guess musictheory.net it was called. I think it's still up, and it's still pretty useful for like beginners and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I have many examples and shit. But I was still not satisfied because there was a lot of questions, left unanswered. But I would still write music. I still wrote stuff, kind of trying to reach that level of understanding. So, like the first album, In Ancient Flame, didn't really have any. I didn't have any real education, musically, I guess. So it's very raw sounding, and it's very what I thought would sound good, and I think it sounds good. Some might even argue they prefer In Hatred's Flame over this new album. I guess everyone has their own taste and everything, but ever since then, I think it was after the second album, I took a class at my local, my community college, Rio Hondo, and I was fortunate enough to have a really good instructor. He was really hard on everyone. Like he didn't want anyone to waste his time, and he didn't want to waste anyone's time. So he was really like strict about understanding the material. And he was very informative though. He wasn't like, he didn't do it just to be a dick. He just really gave a shit, and I loved that. I loved that passion he had. And I didn't let him down. I really was like, wow, dude, this is awesome. Someone's like really gives a shit. And it's funny, the first day of class was like 30 students. The second day, fucking half of them just were like, no, that's too much kind of shit. So it was really awesome because you were able to focus on, a smaller amount of students. And it worked out well. Everyone helped each other out. But yeah, that really helped me understand music and how to further study on my own. So I now, because of that, I like to study my favorite classical scores and and in general, just like practice reading, music and just trying to understand how things work, the function of, certain chord progressions and everything like that. So I use that for ExMortus now. I use that as much knowledge as I attained, and I try to express it in my own way. And that's when that was my first attempt with that new knowledge, was Slave to the Sword. So I don't know if you noticed, since Slave to the Sword, we have a certain sound, a certain kind of approach to music.
Yeah.
And I think that was exactly the first album that had that new ExMortus sound. So I like to apply a lot of that old shit with the music. A lot of the old sonata form structure, a lot of the old old tonal practices, of tension and release. It happens all the time in pop music, of course, but I like doing it the whole like Baroque, classical, and romantic way in ages past, because I thought it was so epic sounding to me, and all the virtuosos from then were all like, they're just very inspiring to this day, at least for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to emulate that as much as possible. So totally a music geek.
No, I think that's the phrase you use, tension and release. That's a good way, partly just to describe the new album. Like I was trying to think of it, and that's like, there's a lot of tension, and then like it just kind of like all goes at once in certain songs, and it's like, man, that's a perfect way to describe quite a few songs on the new record. Like the way you build things up and then just let them go, and it really fucking goes once it goes, man. I don't know, man. Like I've only admittedly like passively listened to you guys. Like I've listened to the band for sure, but like I don't know, I just didn't know what to expect with this new album. So when I listened to it, I was just like, all right, well, we'll see where it's at. And then like, honestly, my expectations were like blown out of the water. Like I was not expecting what I listened to. I think the progression that you guys have done, even from 2 years ago, like it's exponentially, like ridiculously better. Like I can't.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like how much you've done, and like just from the last album, which was only a couple years ago, to now, is just like mind blowing to me. I was like, what the fuck? and that's not to say the last album was bad at all. That's far from it. But it was just like, whoa. I've been telling everybody for sure, like especially I have a couple co-hosts that I usually do the show with, and I've been telling them like, listen to this record, tell all your friends, get into this now, or you're gonna regret the fuck out of it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad you appreciate it, man.
No,
Thank
of
you.
course. I don't know. I love really technical music myself, so it's like anytime a band can, like, I notice the progression, it's like I'm into it. Like I can tell the band is really like taking what they do seriously. They're really trying to craft really strong, structured songs, and to do it like flawlessly. And I appreciate that,
Thank you.
exponentially. So
Thank
yeah,
you.
It's funny too. You were mentioning your guitar teacher there. It sounded a lot like the movie Whiplash, but with guitars instead of drums.
Oh yeah. Well, he wasn't a guitar teacher. He was just a general music theory.
Oh wow.
Sorry,
Okay.
I didn't make that clear. But it's funny you mentioned that, because he actually reminded me a lot of that character in the movie. The movie came out afterwards when I took the class, but when I saw it, I was like, dude, he even looks like him.
Whoa.
Like that actor.
That's cool, man.
It was interesting. He wore the same kind of shit, like black, plain black shirt, everything like that. Same shit. It was funny.
That's so cool. Yeah, I guess that's how music teachers are, because I from what I understand about that movie, like the dude wrote it because he was in like a music school. So yeah, that makes sense.
It's funny.
So you did kind of mention too, In Hatred's Flame. Let's kind of go to that record right now. Let's start from where the band was at that point in time, and kind of leading up to the writing and recording of that record. Since it's been 10 years now, I mean that's nothing to slouch about. Getting that milestone, I think, is very important for a band. Not only just being around longer than that, but that being your first album. That's cool, man. I gotta admit, that's one thing I love about this podcast, is when we can talk to bands who have celebrated like an anniversary with a record.
Right now, we should do something about that.
Yeah, right.
Well, actually, the recording of that album was done 2007, actually, and we had it released. We released it on our own, and we only had not the whole album. It was like about 7 songs, I think. So we treated it as like an EP or some shit, and yeah, we would like fish that out to record labels and stuff. No one really accepted us except for Heavy Artillery, and yeah, they signed us, and we pressed it again, and with new artwork, and they wanted it longer, so we just added 4 songs, I believe. So yeah, there's a total of 11 tracks in that album, and that time, yeah, I was still in high school. I was 17, and then recorded again for the release in 2008, and I turned 18, and yeah, all of us were still relatively, actually very young. We were just, barely, we're not even 20, and we're just, getting offers to tour, and, because by that time we had been doing like shows here and there outside of the state, outside of California, so we would go to Arizona, and even I think we went as far as Oregon up north. That's it, we just kind of get our feet wet. Actually, during this time too, that's when we met Havoc. We did like a trip all the way to Denver to play a show with Havoc. It was Havoc and Bonded by Blood.
Damn.
And yeah, so that was a while ago. I think it was 2008. I remember that because I was like it was in senior year, and I was all worried about like a project I had to do, and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go do the show. And funny enough, who drove us? My dad.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
He was down. So yeah, actually, my dad even accompanied us on our very first tour during that year. At the end of that year, we when In Nature's Flame came out on Heavy Artillery. Yeah, I'm telling you, my dad was really fucking pushing for us to do something with our lives. I guess trying to keep us productive, keep us, I guess, off the streets.
Yeah.
Using that term, even though we did a lot of street shows, I guess. But yeah, he was very motivating and very supportive. So he helped us out. He got vacation from work, and he just helped us. He drove us around our first tour, and we did it on our own, and we actually did pretty damn good. We're relatively new in the scene, and we toured all over the states and in a month, and we headlined a lot of shows, and no one even fucking knew who we were. So we played like a lot of times like 2 very, very tiny crowds. But it was good, a good experience in how like tour life could be, and how some shows are going to be, I guess, crappy in the sense that there's no one there. It's going to be a small audience. So I guess my dad was trying to show us, to tour with family so we don't feel too fucking alienated or anything. But it was just, very showing us the ropes, I guess. Even though he never had done it before, so he did. He just did it, as a new experience for himself. But he wanted to be a part of that, and he helped out. So yeah, we got the taste of tour, and we loved it, and kept going after that. And yeah, fucking the next tour after that was soon after, like in spring or some shit, because that was spring of 2009. Started touring with other bands, Bonded by Blood, Witch Haven. After that, Vector. After that, I forget before the next album. But yeah, we started making more friends, playing all over the place. Now it's. At that point, it was easier to book shows out of state, like in Arizona. We would go there even more often, and at a point we considered that like a second home because we would constantly go there because of the scene, because of Vector. Vector originally at that time were from Arizona.
Yeah.
So we would play a lot of shows there, and we would play up north in the Bay Area, and then even further, blah blah blah. That's where we met Spellcaster too, eventually, up in Portland. And yeah, so it just slowly building our relationships with all the friends that we have now, pretty much. So yeah, that was like the beginnings of that time. We were kids, and we're trying to fucking expand our business and everything. So yeah.
Yeah, I think
and then,
for me besides like the genre, I think the Death Angel comparison is pretty apt to you guys, like because you were so young when you started out the band. Yeah. I don't think like sound is very similar in terms of like what you guys play. Like it's there for sure, but like not prevalent. But yeah, because of how young you guys were, and like you just like hit the ground running with your first release like that. I think the comparison's there. And, it's really crazy, too, that you started touring in 2008. That was a rough year to start touring because I had started touring with the band around that time, and that was when gas was like $5 a gallon. You talk about low turnouts, same thing. Like I just don't think anybody was going to shows in 2008. Like the same thing for like everybody on our package. Like it was low turnouts. Nobody was coming to shows. It was a really dismal period between like 2008 and 2010, and then from 2010 it seemed to start to pick back up a little bit, at least from my perspective of what I was doing. But I'm sure yours may have differed a little bit since you were like playing more shows and writing and recording and stuff like that.
Actually, not really. Actually, because after this period, we parted ways with our singer. So actually, it became a really rough period for ExMortus after that, when things started to pick up. It seems, show-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Our singer at the time, Balmore, I guess we just couldn't get along musically and all this shit. So it just didn't work out. So he left. He wanted to do his own thing. So and then since he was a singer, we were like, damn, we don't want to get a separate member. Like there's already 4 of us. Why make a 5-piece? It's someone else to worry about. So I was like, fuck it, I'll just step it up. I'll start practicing to sing or whatever, be a frontman. I'm a fucking weirdo. I admit that. I'm a fucking just a nerd. I'm just a loner. Fucking, I was just a lead guitar player because I just wanted to like shred. So this is very new to me, but I love challenges, and I'll fucking take them, and I'm gonna do it. I like the idea. Fuck it. I like the practice. I like the art of things. So. It was a very rough start because I didn't know what to fucking do. I don't know how to fucking talk to people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was really rough for me, and and even sound-wise, at the time, Heavy Artillery got sold. They got bought off by Earache, and we're trying to renegotiate the contract and all this shit. So we didn't have any real support for the Beyond the Fall of Time album once that came out. So. We didn't have much of a budget for the recording, and I didn't know how to sing. I still don't know how to sing, but I think I got a lot better since. And at that time, I tried to be a little more daring with my riffs. I started to be a little more fucking like ridiculously nuts, just going off the wall like with really fast picking. And the thing is also at the time. I guess we weren't really connecting with the new band members. It was a little awkward, and I don't know. It was just a really rough fucking time for ExMortus with that, and also like a lot of fans were like, "Oh, fuck that, dude. We're not the same band anymore." And we're always going to get that because even to this day, I'm the only original member now, so people are still feeling that way about certain things.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll get to that eventually. But
I do. Yeah, I have that lined up here. My questions.
Yeah, of course. And but at this time, it was really rough, and. Regardless, I was determined. Same with Mario. Mario and I were just like, fuck it, we got to keep doing it this way because we got to stick together and we have to keep going. So we got different members and started writing new music. And at this time was when I was taking that class, and I started to apply the new knowledge to the new material that I had, because I always wanted that in mind. I always wanted to learn how to write like a composer and apply that to music, to heavy metal.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of bands already do that. So I mean, I had that to be like, oh hell yeah, see, it could be done. So we wrote "Slave to the Sword" with our new lineup, David and Aldo on bass, and it was really cool because at this time everything wasn't awkward. Everything was just right. Everyone felt the groove. Everyone, was playing together, and everyone was, all in. Everyone was having a good time while we're at it too. So the whole atmosphere and the whole just everything was good. So I think that's what made Slave to the Sword come out the way it did. I started being more confident with my songwriting and being a frontman, and just working together with the whole band. So everything was going good, and since we had such a flop with Beyond the Fall of Time, we felt like we were just fucking, what are we doing? We're just fucking working slaves for the sword. This is the heavy metal. We're just slaving to achieve, something out of this. And we're not getting as many opportunities and blah, blah, blah. So we were like, fuck, this is it. This is our last effort because we're fucking slave to the sword. And that's why we called it that. That was the I guess the inspiration to name it that, because that's how we felt. It's a reflection of just our lives. So yeah, we did it. We fished it out. Prosthetic dug it, and they signed us. And yeah, rest is history.
So
fucking did well. We got a lot of opportunities with that. And we're like, oh shit, cool. Worked out.
Yeah,
I think because of, like I was saying, the lineup was solid. Everyone was being more confident. Everything was just overall better, you know. So, what were we going to say? Sorry.
Oh no, you're all good. So basically, what I was kind of thinking in that transitionary period where everything was like such a struggle, you know, you guys kind of got your first taste of like what the real industry is like. You know, you learn like behind the scenes, like all the deals and stuff that are going on. You're dealing with member changes, things not meshing correctly, but you still managed to persevere. Like, what kept you going through that time where you were like, just like, fuck this, we need to keep doing this, we're gonna keep going, like, I believe in this? Like, what kept you going through that time?
Honestly, I think just I just knew I had to do it. Like, me and Mario, we had nothing else better to do. Like, we were just fucking tired of, like I don't know, we don't want to, like, granted, we all have to do our, you know, we all have to work, we have to do our day job and shit, but we don't want that. We want to make something else out of it. Like, we want to make it, you know, we want to achieve more than just that. So we were like, no, we're not going to stop. Like, fuck that. Fuck it. You know, whatever. We have to keep going. We had a flop, but we're not going to stop. I know. We consider the Slave of the Sword album like the last effort, maybe. You know, maybe if it doesn't do so well, then fuck it. At least we gave it another last effort. So, but that wasn't the case, and we proved ourselves wrong. You know, we're like, fuck yeah. We just strove to be better, to better ourselves. We reevaluated ourselves, and we corrected ourselves. So, yeah, it's just the motivation to better ourselves individually and as a group. You know, to achieve a goal with other people. To me, that's what life is all about. You know, it's about living like that. It's about, you know, doing that kind of shit. You know, changing yourself for the better because you're going to affect people in a better way. And who better to do that with than, you know, your own cousin? You know, sharing these evolutionary moments with you within yourself. So we just did it out of, I guess, brotherhood. You know, just doing shit together. You know, we've always done shit together. So
yeah.
That was we motivated each other that way, so we just stuck it through.
Yeah, and I think, you know, from my perspective at least, you know, it sucks that one album kind of flopped, but I think, you know, if you don't have the label behind you trying to push you guys or doing anything for you, like, it's not really on your guys' fault. You're still holding up your end. You're writing the music, you're playing the music, you're doing the tours, but the record label isn't doing anything for you, so that can't fall on you guys, you know, that, you know, and I'm sure you've learned that, like, in retrospect, but you know, I don't think you should be too hard on yourself in that album. Like, you guys still did it, you know.
Of course, yeah, of course. I mean, even then, you have some fans that are into that album. They like, you know, what we did with it, so that's good. That's encouraging, because we were like, oh, fuck this album.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? After we did Slave, because we were so very proud of Slave because of that, you know, and yeah, so we're a little hard on ourselves to this day about a lot of things.
That's fair.
But it's good. It's good to have fans into the older stuff too, and we plan on bringing some of that back. Just, you know, for fun. We can even make them a little different now, I guess, just for, you know, live purposes. But yeah, just that whole perseverance theme is evident in the newer records too, like Slave of the Sword, Right Forth, and Son of Steel, the new one. So yeah, so I think that's why these past three albums have a certain I don't know what to call it. They're related, you know. They're related thematically, musically, sonically. You know, it's just something about this three albums. So because of that, I think the artwork is great on the Son of Steel, because you have the slave to the sword guy and the main writer from Right Forth fucking going at it. They're fucking fighting each other. You know what I mean? So in a way, I think this is kind of a conclusion to this sort of thematic, you know, expression. And I plan on moving on from this for the next album, for the next album or so, in that new cycle. the end of this cycle. So yeah, I think I try to do a good job about that musically on the album. So you know what I mean, kind of like recapping on everything. It's like a conclusion to all these 5 albums. So
yeah, you have like a nice through line there of like progression, basically.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's awesome you bring up the art, because that was another thing I wanted to talk about. With your artwork, man, like throughout all the albums, you've had excellent artwork on everything. And you have this, obviously, you know, your pseudonym is Conan. You have a very Conan the Barbarian theme and like ancient kind of warriors in battle. Like, how do you come up with the concepts for the covers? Like, do you do it yourself? Is it a collective thing? Like, do you just kind of let the artists do their thing? Like, what's the deal with the covers?
Pretty much, Phil Levere did the last 3. He did Slave, Bride, and Son of Steel. We kind of just let him do what he thought, you know, whatever he thought would fit, because we would send him lyrics and even samples of the music so he can get an idea and get into it. And yeah, everything was pretty much his ideas. You know, we just gave, I forget exactly what we sent him before, but like, hey, check this out. What do you think of this? And yeah, he pretty much did all that on his own, especially this last one. He was the one that came up with the idea of them fighting each other, and then it was perfect because at the time I didn't know what I really wanted for artwork. And he suggested that, and I was like, dude, this is awesome. I'm kind of doing this musically, you know, the clash of ideas and stuff, and in a way, you know what I mean. So I thought it was perfect. So I just said, yeah, go for it, dude. And it came out great. So yeah, I love that. And yeah, I guess my Conan moniker, I got that from our very first bassist. He noticed I loved fucking Conan movies so much as a kid, and when we started the band as like a black metal kind of thing. We would put, you know, corpse paint and shit. So it was weird, but we all had stage names, and everyone picked one, and I didn't know what to pick for myself, and he would call me Conan jokingly, so it just stuck.
Conan, you know, it is.
Yeah, because my real name's hard to pronounce anyway, so it's probably better to be called Conan, because Jadran is not easily, it can't be said easily by many American speakers, you know.
Yeah.
English-speaking, native English speakers can't really say that so easily. So, yeah, Conan is a lot better, at least for this purpose.
Well, does a lot of that kind of fantasy element, like, are you inspired by that too, or is it like different things as well, like horror and sci-fi? Like, because I know metal kind of infuses into a lot of those things as well. Like, it's, you know, you talked about nerddom. Totally. I think a lot of like metal people are into nerdy things like comic books and horror movies by far. Video games. Yeah, video games.
Oh yeah, man. I got a lot of inspiration from like video games, movies, and stuff like that. Card games. A lot of the song names and shit, or at least lyrics, are like magic card stuff. You know.
Oh yeah.
or even like we have a song For the Horde. That's kind of you know a little tribute to World of Warcraft or some shit. Even though I never played it, I've only played Warcraft 3, Reign of Chaos, the strategy game. So they you know, the orcs yell that too. So I know what's up.
It's all you need to play, man.
Yeah, no, exactly. And yeah, I just like a lot of that kind of stuff is cool to me, you know, because you know, I like to use that as a setting for a lot of the ideas I have. Not just because it's, you know, I'm a nerd and like Lord of the Rings and all that shit, but I like to think fantasy is real. It's very real. These themes are like, this is just human things. Granted, there's like a lot of crazy, outlandish things going on in like fantasy movies and stories and comic books or whatever, but all these ideas are very real, and we all go through these kinds of things, you know, oppression and revolution and just, you know, standing up for yourself in general, you know, fucking, you're tired of something, fucking make the change, you know. So there's some like motivating lyrics in the Sound of Steel and stuff like that have to do with individual as opposed to just the bigger picture, which there is that too, but I like to think of all this fantasy stuff that inspires me to write lyrics. They're very real. It's, you know, they're just stories about brotherhood. They're stories about, you know, persevering. They're stories about life in general. And putting them in the fantasy setting is just so much more cooler.
Yeah.
Right, you know. granted, we don't have any like dragon slaying in our music exactly, but I think it would fit if you made a music video or a cartoon video with our music matching like a fucking dragon being slain or something. I don't know, but yeah, you understand what I mean, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I think it's great because like you talk about like, you know, growing and persevering. I think it shows that like as you have grown as a person, the band has grown with you, and despite like the member changes and stuff like that, like you've still had this constant line of like ExMortus being the constant in your life, and you've always grown that as you've grown too, it seems like. And you know, with where the band is at right now, so like let's kind of moving forward now. How did the current lineup come about, and where did you guys kind of want to take it musically?
I see. Well, since Mario and David left, they decided to leave last fall. And, yeah, I was considering just dropping ExMortus entirely, too, because, you know, my cousin, the co-founder of we started the band, you know, so I was like, fuck, we just might as well just end it or some shit, you know. But I had started writing the new album already, and I didn't want to let these songs, I guess, go to waste. I wanted to give them the album they deserve to be on or something. So yeah. I don't know. I'm just very proud of my work, you know, and I just wanted to be heard, so I just couldn't just let it go. So I decided, fuck it, I'm gonna continue this shit somehow. So you know, we play with Warbringer a lot of times. We've been done it for so long, and we helped each other many times, and we had a tour offer in the end of that year, and I was like, fuck it, we'll take it. And Chase and Carlos were willing to do double duty on that tour and help me out, and they were even willing to help record the album. So yeah, so it was great. I'm really grateful that they were willing to do that, you know. So I finished writing the album by the time you know, by that tour, because 2 weeks after we got back from the tour, I scheduled recording.
Dang.
And I gave ourselves 10 days to do it. Gave ourselves 10 days to record everything, and yeah, they learned everything pretty quickly. So it was really, really cool that everyone was able to just nail that shit and you know, confidently, even though we were, you know, it was a real example of crunch time. And what I'm always worried about is like being awkward with new members. I'm always worried like, oh, it's gonna be weird, you know, like having, you know, someone that's not gonna be in your groove of things.
Yeah.
So I hated that, but this didn't happen. Everyone was in the same groove. Everyone was fucking jamming. It was great, and it was cooler too because playing older songs that, you know, that I guess they weren't part of in a way, like they didn't play the new, like, you know what I mean? They played old songs like I don't know, Foe Hammer.
Yeah.
They did different fills, they did different guitar solos, and it was just cool. It makes everything sound so refreshing, like the fresh, you know, kind of jam. And I love that about music, because I love to improvise. There's a lot of improvising spots in ExMortus solos. Granted, we have a lot of well-structured, thoroughly composed classical sections, you know, that don't really give room for improvisation that too much, but we also have a lot of like just go for it, you know, solo sections, and even not just that, but the riffs themselves can be that way too. And that's what I love about jamming with like new members too, is because they express themselves in their own way. And I love that about the new record too. It's different drum fills, different solos, different, you know, guitar kind of, you know, leads going on because of that. So yeah, I just made everything fresh sounding to me, you know, as one of the founders of the band.
Yeah, so you mentioned you know, kind of not everybody leaving the band, but you were kind of the original member left, and this is something that we've talked about often on our podcast, is like there's a really fine line with, you know, where do you think the band is still the same band when they lose pretty much every member except for ex-member and ex-member, or, you know, there's one guy left who really didn't contribute to the songwriting or whatever, You know, it's such a fine line. But I think in your case, because you are like one of the main songwriters and you always have been, it makes sense for you to just bring on other people. It's not going to really, I mean, I think for this album it changed a lot of the sound because like, I don't know, I just think that progression, man, it's kind of like struck me so hard. I was like, Jesus Christ, like with everybody that you got on this record, including yourself, like the songwriting has just fucking skyrocketed. And
thank you.
You know, a lot of bands, like, they'll just bring on a new guy and it doesn't really change anything. It's just, you know, status quo, or it changes too much to where like they don't sound like the same band. They should have just started a new band. I think case in point,
yeah, it's true.
We already talked about this on our last episode of our podcast, but I think case in point, and you can disagree with me or kind of agree with me here, but I think Suffocation, they don't have Frank Mullen anymore. They don't have Guy Marché or even Doug Cerrito or Terrence Hobb or was it Mike Smith anymore. Pretty much all the members are gone from that band. It's like, stop writing music as Suffocation. Just start a new band, please.
Yeah, because it's at that point. I mean, it's hard to. Yeah, it's hard to call it the same band. You know, like especially if key members are not in the band anymore. It's not the same. I guess the same goes for Judas Priest. Ever since Glenn Tipton, I guess, got sick, he's not doing the tour anymore. Who knows if he's going to be writing any more Judas Priest albums since KK's not there either. Is it really Judas Priest? I don't know. It's hard to say, you know. And the thing is, though, no matter what, it will affect the newer music. I mean, in the case of ExMortus, it would affect it a little bit because Mario contributed a whole lot to the music process. He would contribute riffs or even just lyrics or something, you know, overall vision, you know, he would contribute. But he still helps out. That's the thing. Me and him are you know, there's no hard feelings, of course. We still hang out and shit. So, I mean, I'm sure he'll help out, you know, with newer ideas just for fun because, you know, he's just a creative person. He's not going to just stop. Yeah. You know what I mean? He still supports me with ExMortus. So, it's great. So, and the thing is, though, nothing's really changing. It's just the members playing the parts or seem to be changing. But it's still ExMortus, and even then, like I'm always changing as a person. You know, I'm always trying to better myself somehow. Mm-hmm. I'm always learning. I'm always going to apply my new knowledge to my art, no matter what. So there's going to be like a gradual change, no matter what, as you have noticed. You know, with Slaved Sword, or even the first album up to this point. So
it's a way different.
There's always going to be some change. Yeah, exactly. Because even then, like Mario and I considered "Slave to the Sword" the first ExMortus record, like the new ExMortus. That's pretty much how we treated that album and that cycle. We only played "Slave to the Sword" songs. You know, we played some older ones too, but we would focus only on the new shit because we're like, this is the new sound. This is a new band entirely. In a way, we felt that way. At least we treated it as such. Because people were so hard up on Balmore leaving, and then, you know, just a different feel, and like, fuck it, let's accentuate it by starting new. You know what I mean? Even though it's not new, it's still, you know, us, and we play old jams. It still sounds like it'll fit on the same set list as our new shit, no matter what. So so in our case, it doesn't seem like it's a totally different band, even though, like I said, we treated it as such. But I guess that's just a pride thing. Right, but it's difficult to say a lot of the time with certain bands, and I mean, people affect each other, so you get that with new members and whatnot.
Yeah, so. And I mean, I think with this record it worked in your favor, man. But I still think because you're one of the main, you know, songwriters and original members, I don't think people should be too hard on you, and hopefully they won't be. I don't know. We'll see, but it'd be silly if they are.
I could take it. Fuck them.
Oh man.
I've been doing this for so long. I've had so many obstacles in my artistic, I guess, lifestyle. Like, I don't give a fuck. I do this solely for myself and for the people that appreciate it. So if you don't appreciate it, well then stick to that first album we wrote. You know, listen to that forever if you want. But I'm going to continue writing new shit, and you don't have to be a part of it if you don't want to. But thank you for appreciating at least something of my work. You know. Fuck it.
Yeah, no, that's not a bad way to look at it either, man. At least you still know you have that one person who cares about that one thing you did.
Yeah, no, well, fuck it. It's better than nothing, I guess. Right?
Yeah. So
Totally.
with this current lineup pretty much solidified, and I know you said you had stuff pretty much ready to go off that tour, and you had 10 days to record. What did that look like when you got into the studio?
I'm kind of I do a lot of last minute shit, even for like the other records. So this album had some of that too. But actually, I think this is the most prepared I've ever been going into the studio. I guess just from doing it many times and working with the same guy, Zach Oren, who recorded the last 2 albums as well.
Yeah.
He, I work so well with him. He's great. He's awesome. He understands the vision. He understands everything that we want. Easy to work with. Fucking cool ass guy too. I knew exactly what to expect and how to do it. So I had the music written out on Guitar Pro beforehand, everything, as much as possible, and I just fine tune little details like on the spot or wrote last minute lyric changes or whatever on the spot. But yes, this is the most prepared we've been, and I figured we'd only need 10 days to really knock everything out. A few days to record drums, a few days to record rhythms, like maybe 2 days for bass, and the rest leads and vocals. We kind of went back and forth with certain parts, but I figured we could do that because on Slave of the Sword, that recording we did everything in 6 days.
Wow.
Yeah, everything was fucking go for it, boom. And even then Zach was very he was awesome at keeping everyone on a schedule. Like, okay, we got to get shit done by this time today if you want to finish the album or whatever. So yeah, I mean, it was good working with that guy, and everyone was on board. Chase, Carlos learned the material quickly. Chase did solos, but Carlos learned all the fucking songs, and he did his thing. So it worked out beautifully, and I'm glad that everyone was fucking on it, just going for it confidently, because like I said before, feeling awkward is just not cool. I don't like that. I don't want to force anything on anyone that they don't want to do. You got to feel it. If you don't feel it, then I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't want to tell you. So it worked out, man.
So you had this perfectly cohesive group going in. Everybody was on the same page. Everything was ready to go. So one thing actually I really enjoyed knowing about, especially behind the scenes stuff with the recording, is what kind of gear were you recording on in the studio versus what you play live, or is it almost the same?
Oh, it's the same, especially on this record. Only because the previous record we had a different distortion pedal because mine wasn't working at the time, or blah blah blah, little minor details. But this time we used the same shit, JCM 2000 Marshall head, that cab. I guess the only different thing we used for guitar tone was a Mesa Boogie cab with the vintage 30 speakers.
Okay.
And they sounded great. They sounded great for the rhythm tracks, and we used the Marshall cab 1960 lead with Celestians, or did he change them? I forget if we used another cab or not, but we used something else for leads. I already forgot. And but yeah, it was good to it sounded great because you could hear the difference in slight difference in tone, so you could decipher the lead from the rhythms on the album. And as for bass, we used something that a cab that Zach had in studio, but I don't even remember that cab. But I mean, for the most part, it's not hard to. Don't get mad at me, bass players that are listening to this, but it's not it's not that different getting a different bass cab. I don't know. Don't yell at me, but it sounded good, and I think in the live setting it's easily emulated, at least so far with the stuff that we've been working with. But everything is pretty much what we use live. It's that's important to me because I want people to see oh shit, it sounds like the record, or probably better than the record, because in live settings I like to improvise a lot of little things, and I like to kind of go for it, on certain parts. I like to really just fucking shred or accentuate certain parts that were not accentuated on record. So I like that. I like to impress people, even though they've already listened to the album. They'll be like, oh shit, live it's better, and we've gotten that before. So I use that as, inspiration for future records. Like, I'm always going to use stuff that I always use live. Nothing too fancy on record, because it's just rock and roll. I plug in and play kind of thing.
Yeah, no, that's pretty important, man. I think too, like, if you're recording an album, that's one thing, and it should sound good, but like when you play live, it should sound better, if not different, than what you recorded, because that's why people are going to see you live. I don't want to go see a band and like them sound worse than the record, which has happened.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, it's happened a lot of times. But I'm always blown away by the bands that I see live that sound better than the record. And I'm just like, oh my god, I need to go see these guys live every time, because I don't know if I can listen to the record the same way now. It's nice when a band can just take the rug out from under you like that and just be like, fuck, I can't compare.
Yeah, that's what we exactly, that's what we strive for. We want to do the same kind of thing. It's awesome, because that's what I want from bands, when I see them live. So they fucking, like, blow my fucking mind. I know your shit already, but, like, fucking melt my face or some shit,
I pretty recently went to go see my favorite band play their final shows in New York, and I've seen them so many times throughout my entire life. Like, they're my favorite band, so of course I'm gonna go see them. But Dillinger Escape Plan.
Oh shit! Okay, cool.
Yeah,
they're done.
They're done, man.
Damn. They're done, though.
They played their final. They played 3 shows back to back to back in New York at a 3,000 cap venue, and every night was sold out. I got to see them play with Mike Patton, which was like a whole nother like level of like mind blowing. Like they played everything, and it was immaculate. I couldn't have asked for a better live experience. So like that's like the bar for me right there, and it's pretty fucking high. But don't get me wrong, I've seen some bands that have like crushed it. Like the first time I saw Suffocation, they were probably one of the heaviest bands I ever heard live, and they were the co-headliner, I think, for Carcass when Carcass first got back together, like back in 2008 or 9, I think. And so I saw Suffocation, and then Carcass came on, and I was like really underwhelmed because of how much Suffocation just like stole the show away from them, from how good they sounded live. Man. Yeah, and I was like, damn it.
Damn, and I love Carcass too, so that's saying a lot too. God damn.
Yeah. To be fair, I saw Carcass like 2-3 times after that, and they killed it both times. So I was like, all right, Suffocation is just like unfuckwithable with like their live sound.
Yeah, it's great. It's very important too. Yeah, you gotta fucking reinvent that sound each tour, as opposed to the record, right? Like,
yeah,
we gotta make it better somehow, because that's what keeps people going to the shows. That's important. It's important to like have that, I guess, I don't know what to call it. I guess that magic, because people buy records. Yeah, exactly. Because people will buy records or even just download it illegally and just and that's it. And they'll just hold on to that. They're not going to want to go to your shows if you have a shit show or shit sound. So yeah, totally important.
So, kind of closing up here, I guess, before we kind of finish off, one thing I want to know, what is your favorite piece of gear, like guitar, amp, whatever, that you own, that you love to play, that just feels like a natural extension of yourself, that you're like, I love this piece of machinery that is a part of me?
I would say, my phallic instrument, my guitar.
Yeah.
I love this thing. I love Jackson guitars. I've always played them as when I first started. That was like one of the first guitars I really wanted to play because of Randy Rhoads, Aussie guitars. I loved all of them. So, but Randy's guitar was fucking cool, and I thought it was sick. I always loved that shape, that V shape, specifically the Randy shape, because I always wanted to be like him. So, and because of that, I pestered the guys from Jackson to fucking get me endorsed and all this shit for years, and it finally worked. So I have an endorsement with them. So that's great. So I have other guitars too. I have Dinkies and whatnot. But I love the way they feel. I mean, people will say that their fucking quality went down, but I don't know. I don't give a fuck. This shit still feels like a Jackson to me. So that's never gonna go away. I'm always gonna fucking play Jackson guitars, So I mean, I love other guitars too, but this is This is what I play. This is the ExMortus look. This is, you know what I mean? This is me. This is, you know, I noticed I played another guitar for some shit, and someone commented, like, you look weird without playing your V.
Dang.
And I guess it's true. Like, it just becomes such a part of me, you know, that it's, even other people think so. Even other people think, like, oh yeah, you look weird without it. You have to have your V. Like, what the fuck are you doing? This is blasphemy. So, definitely that. I mean, that's guitar-wise, but I guess amp-wise, I don't know. I don't like to have like too much gain on like the guitar. I think it takes away from a lot of clarity. I mean, I guess there's ways to kind of make all that gainy shit sound clear now with, you know, other pedals and shit. But you know me, like I like just to plug in and fucking jam, rock and roll. You know what I mean? So I've always loved to have like a Marshall with enough gain to have a fucking awesome sound, because I think Marshalls have pretty cool. You know, are pretty flexible. You could, if you really want to make it heavy, just add a tube screamer or whatever, turn the gain up a bit, and there you go. That's all you really need. You could use that for a lot of kind of metal and even rock. So I like to keep, you know, I like to tone it back a bit. Like, I don't want to be like over the top fucking extreme heavy metal. I mean, granted, I play extreme heavy metal, but you know what I mean? I like the notes to be heard, because if you're going a million miles a second, you should be heard somehow. You know, it's going to be muddy if you have your gain too high, I think. So that's why I like Marshalls, because they respond well to the music I want to play. So yeah, I like that shit. Rock and roll, you know.
Is your guitar solid body or Floyd Rose, or like what's the pickups on it too?
Well, the ones I have, I prefer JB pickup, Seymour Duncan. It's pretty flexible to whatever I want to do. Like, if I want to play something heavy, it'll respond well. If I want to play something just, you know, gentle, gay shit, you know. No offense to anyone, but I like that it responds well to that too. I'll just lower the volume and it becomes more dynamic, and it's, you know, I could pick softly and you can still hear like it's being picked softly. It's not like a lot of active pickups are kind of just the same tone, and you know what I mean, too much. So I like that about a lot of Seymour Duncan pickups, and the JB is pretty good for you know, anything really, I think. So I'll use that. I have Floyd Rose on a lot of my guitars. I think on most of them, most of the ones I've been using, because I like to, you know, have the option of doing a sick dive bomb, or, you know what I mean, Dimebag fucking licks and whatnot. So yeah, I like to have that. I mean, they're a pain in the ass to like change the strings, you know, frequently, especially on tour. But
they are.
Hey, it has to be done. It has to be done though, if you want to fucking sound crazy and wild. So yeah. But the specs are pretty much like that. Like I said, I don't really like to get too crazy with, you know, different things. I'm pretty straightforward with that stuff. Like all the guitars I have right now are pretty much all stock. Everything is what it is. It comes with that. Buy it off the shelf. That's what I use. You know, I use the Pro Series Jackson models for the most part. I have a couple of USA ones, but yeah, again, they're all stock. So.
It's not a bad way to be, man. I mean, it works for you. It works for your sound. It works for your playing style. I think. I mean, why change what doesn't need to be fixed? You know.
Exactly. Yeah.
So closing out here, man. I ask this question every so often. It's gonna put you on the spot a little bit, but if you had to make a band, like a dream band with the members alive or dead, could be heavy metal, could be non-heavy metal, what would those members be?
Oh, what? Shit. Okay, you're saying like just put a band in my head.
Yeah, super group, alive members, dead members. I know. I kind of love it because it does put people on the spot, but it's just like I love hearing the answers because they have to be kind of like, well, this person, yeah.
I know. Maybe, okay, before I start thinking about it too much, because I know I'm going to be like, well, would they even like each other? Will they even like, you know? But okay, that's not the point, right? Okay, so, damn, okay. Dio as singer, fucking Yngwie in his 20s as guitarist, John Lord on keyboard, and drummer, dude, I can't even pick right now, dude. I have no idea. Fuck, there's too many good drummers. I'll just say, you know, fucking fuck, dude. It's a lot of the
I think
I'll
drummer and
take,
bass player always like gets everybody.
Yeah, because even for bass player, I have many picks, man. Jesus Christ, what have you done to me? Okay, for bassist, trying to bring balance. I'm gonna put Bob Daisley because I love how he writes.
All right.
And I gotta have some Aussie, in there. And of course, I don't know, drummer. Fuck it. Let's put a modern twist to it or some shit. I'll just say Neil Peart because he's fucking crazy. You could add a good mix to the whole fucking cacophony of sound that's already going to be played with John Lord and Yngwie. So he might add that prog aspect, So
That's
I'll
true.
say Neil Peart. So fuck it.
Hell yeah, that's a good lineup, man. I like that. I'd be
it's
interested to hear what that would
weird.
sound like.
Cool,
Cool, man.
Sound like crap. Too many fucking notes here and there. Too many crazy beats and shit. I don't know. Who knows? That'll be pretty interesting for me to hear, at least.
Yeah, it might spark a whole new wave of music we'd never heard.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. So give us the details on the album and when it drops. That way people listening can go get it. Obviously, we're going to link to it in all of our like show notes and everything like that, but people listening to it.
Sick. Yeah. Sounds great, dude. Thank you.
So it comes out June the 1st?
Album comes out June 8th. On June 8th in stores under Prosthetic Records. Fucking yeah. I'm stoked. Gonna have a tour lined up too. I don't know if we're gonna announce it by next week. I think we should announce it next week, but we're gonna be touring the States in July. So yeah, stay tuned for that.
Awesome. I will definitely be on the lookout for those shows if they're coming my way, and I will be there.
Be excellent to each other. And party on, dude!